Hello and welcome back to the Celicia Show. I am so excited to be recording in this gorgeous studio, Gotham Studios here in Manhattan. It's my first time in here, so we're just feeling it out. And so far, we love it. Okay, so in New York City, you just never know who you're going to meet and how one choice can lead your life in the most interesting direction. That's actually one of the themes that we're going to be talking about today, and also how I met my incredible guest. Okay, so I met her at a dinner party and we bonded over books. Turns out she's an editor and an author at Penguin Random House, but not just any author. She's an internationally acclaimed and New York Times best-selling author, okay? Her books having been published in well over 35 languages worldwide. Her hit book is Reese Witherspoon's Book Club pick, y'all. I had to get my hands on my own copy for myself, but got so excited I ended up starting my own book club with a bunch of women. A lot of them ended up like Black women on Broadway, and we started our own book club. It was incredible. Okay, so please help me welcome the author of the critically acclaimed novel, The Light We Lost, Jill Santopolo.
Hello.
Hi.
It's so great to be here with you.
I truly feel honored. The first time I met you, I had no idea. Like, I could feel how warm and loving you were, but you never, like, know a person till you can see a layer of their talent even. And reading this book, you are so gifted.
Thank you.
So one of the first things I'd like to ask you before we get into your life and some of the things in the book is fate versus destiny. What do you think? How much is up to us versus it's already
Yeah, I mean that's
stars.
So much of the theme of that book, right? And honestly, it's a lot of the theme of a lot of what I write. It's something I think about all the time. And I think having written through it a couple of times, I think I kind of land on there are some things that just are fated to happen to us, but then it's our choice of what to do with them. So like you will get an opportunity, but then it's up to you to figure out how to use it.
Give me a second. You'll get an opportunity and it's up to you of what you do next. But so what we do next, could that potentially change the course of what happens next? Or whatever is going to happen, doesn't matter if we choose road A or road B. Will it all lead us back to where we're meant to be, in your opinion?
I think we have a couple of possible outcomes. So like you could be this version of Celicia or this version of Celicia or that one, and the choices that you make will drive you in this direction, or that direction. And that's sort of what I came around to, that like what we do does matter, but there are a few possible versions of ourselves depending on the choices we make.
I feel that too. I'm like, sometimes I think, Jill, like it is, I think it's already written in the stars. I think everything is rigged. I think things are rigged. But it feels like we have choice to me.
Yeah. I think the idea that every single thing we do, like the fact that we met each other, we had a great time chatting. You were looking so amazingly glamorous coming from your own book event.
Oh, thanks. I forgot about that.
Yeah. It was awesome.
Thank you.
And we could have just been like, oh, hey, that was a really fun night. But you made a choice to get my book. We made a choice to connect on Instagram. You made a choice to invite me here. I made a choice to say yes. So I don't think that part was necessarily fated, but like maybe we were fated to meet. And then we got to choose what to do with that meeting.
I mean, yes, it does feel like that. Like, but then what about this? So I'm an actor as well. There are so many auditions where I think, okay, I'm so prepared. I know this like the back of my hand, better than the back of my hand. I don't even know the back of my hand. And I know I can nail this. This part is mine. No callback. Then there are times when I'm flying by the seat of my pants, messing up the whole audition. Sometimes I've not even gone to the audition and I get the job. To me, that feels like what is meant to be.
Will be.
Yeah. Like no matter what we do.
I mean, I could totally see that. I mean, that's why I write so much about it, right? Because there are so many different ways that you could interpret the signs that life gives you. You know, I mean, The Light We Lost, I wrote after I went through this horrible breakup. And I think my mom had said to me after the book came out and was successful, she's like, oh, you had to date that guy and break up with him so you could be a successful writer. Maybe it's true. Or maybe it's not. I could have decided not to write that book, right? I could have written a different book. But I don't know.
Jill, I just got chills. Okay, so I have to know then, today, is Jill Team Darren or Team Gabe?
Do you know, I've been asked this question because this book came out, a few years ago. So I've been asked this question a lot.
Probably.
And my answer has not changed. And my answer is, I am Team Lucy. I feel like I want her to know she doesn't need Gabe and she doesn't need Darren to be her best self.
Oh, okay. I wish you were in the room when we did our book club because we went back and forth so much. And if we heard the author say these words, it would have shut us up. We would have been like, oh, yeah, that exact. Okay. So for those of you who have no idea what this book is about, this is in my own words.
I'm excited to hear it.
Okay. We have the author here so she can be like, no, Celicia, it's not that. But it's, okay, there's this girl, Lucy. She's got 2 loves in her life. And one is kind of boring but reliable. The other one is passionate and spicy and exciting and inconsistent. So that's Gabe. The boring and reliable one is Darren. And it's these 2 very different life choices that she has kind of to make. And we see the thought process. We see her making choices in her life. We see some choices being made for her. And then at the end, we see like what choices she actively made. And we go from there. What do you think?
I think that was great. And I think, are you Team Gabe or Team Darren?
I'm Team Darren.
You're Team Darren. The way you described him, I was surprised.
Well, because I've had Gabe in my life. And Gabe is wonderful. Gabe is exciting. I can't make a life with Gabe. I can't. Like,
it's a lot. A Gabe is a lot.
A Gabe is a lot. I will say I feel like in real life I have the best of both worlds. Andrew is not boring. He keeps me on my toes. And he does keep me grounded. But if I had to choose one or the other, I mean, I think in terms of a full life, like long term, I would choose Darren.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's something really to be said for stability. If you're trying to grow a family,
yes.
If you're trying to put down roots and build something.
Yeah.
Stability is important.
The bonfire thing.
Mm-hmm.
There's an analogy in the book about fire. There's the type of loves that we have. There are wildfires that are like out of freaking control and they're all consuming and they're exciting and it's But like
the Gabes.
the Gabes. But also a wildfire will freaking eat your life up. Versus the bonfire, which how is it described?
I think the bonfire is it's sort of big and exciting, but contained.
Okay.
Right? It's always on the verge of it. Something could happen that could be a little dangerous or crazy, but like mostly it's okay.
And then we have the hearth.
The hearth fire.
What I call it, the hearth. the hearth. How do you say it?
Hearth.
The hearth fire, which is like the furnace.
Yeah, it's like a
home.
fireplace in your house, in your living room. That's like it's warm, it's cozy.
Where did you get this analogy from to put in this? Like that's such a great to describe the different types of love.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like what could I use? What feels like love? What feels like passion? What could you use? And there are so many different kind of fires. It kind of made sense.
What fire do you like? What kind of love do you like?
I mean, I think the bonfire is kind of that one in the middle. I think in the book, was it Lucy or Kate says like that's a hard one to find, but it's one that it's roaring and it's there and it keeps you warm on a cold night, but at the same time, you don't really feel like it's gonna destroy you.
That's a really great way to put it. We loved in book club, we loved talking about that and the different perspectives. I should have invited you to our book club. You're like, I've been to enough book clubs.
No, I would have totally come to your book club. What are you kidding? You should have invited me.
I mean, I don't know what I was thinking, but there was so many different perspectives. I remember one of the girls asking one of my friends who has never been in love. She's like, I don't understand how Lucy, when she has something so good with this good man, why she would keep thinking about and going back to this other guy who is not a long-term, it's not good for her. And somebody else in the group who has been in love, she's a grown woman, I think maybe even on not her first marriage, responded with, well, when you love somebody, does it ever really go away? Is that it's, I think when, after you have felt love, I think it goes beyond what we just feel here and on this earth. I think there's a soul connection that happened even before we got here. And so.
Yeah, I feel like once you've really been in love with someone, when you've really made that connection, a piece of them is always a part of you.
That's a good way to put it.
They're there. And sometimes I think if things end really terribly, that love kind of morphs into other strong feelings. But sometimes even then, there's a piece of you that still loves that person as much as you might not want to.
Yeah. Yeah.
They touched something in you. They changed you in a certain way. And that is really meaningful and is really powerful.
Who is Lucy to you?
Who is Lucy to me?
Yeah. I'm in terms of you said you're Team Lucy. When you were writing this, did she come in as a download to you? Is this somebody, and I'm not talking about in your personal life.
Right.
I'm talking about how do you feel about Lucy?
So I started writing this book after I went through a breakup, and I was talking to my friends about it. I was talking to my sisters about it, and I started just writing about someone else who was also going through a breakup that was not mine. I mean, Lucy's not me. The other characters in the book are not people that I know, but I kind of needed a friend to go through a breakup with. So I invented Lucy and started writing her story and shared the opening pages with a writer friend of mine who was like, you have to keep going because I've felt like Lucy before. And I know you felt like Lucy before. And I feel like, to me, Lucy is like, she's every woman who has loved and lost. She's like every person who has had this really special, wonderful relationship that has hurt them in one way or another, and is trying to figure out how to move forward and how to get through it, and if they can move past it, or how to incorporate it into their rest of their lives. And I think that's Lucy for me.
Whew, I just had an epiphany while you were saying that. Some of the girls in the group were pretty hard on Lucy, and one was very compassionate to her. But I wonder, like, what's the possibility that we were hard on Lucy because we see ourselves in Lucy? Right? And it's being reflected back to us. We're like, no.
Not that. That's not me. That's not me.
I know. I'm like, that's not me. This man offers you a trip to Paris and you're like, how dare you not include me on the decision? We're like, girl, what? Like,
no, I mean, and I think Lucy does make decisions in the book that are questionable. And like, she's not.
Yes, she does.
She's not always doing the right thing or saying the right thing or feeling the right thing, but you can't always control how you feel. So, I think there are times in people's lives where they think, I should love this. This person is doing this for me and it's wonderful. And I should just be grateful that this person is here. I should just appreciate what I have. But if it doesn't feel right, it doesn't feel right. You can't control that. You can't ignore it, or you end up in a real bad situation later on, which is kind of what ends up happening.
Okay. Yes, about that. So, okay, let me think, because this is not a question on my list here, but I'm very curious. When you got the download, when you got, like, is that how you receive ideas? How do you receive ideas?
I don't even know. They're just sort of there.
They're just there? And for this one, was it a loud idea? Was it soft, like maybe you should write this? Or was it like, I can't sleep until I get this out?
It was just I need to figure out a way to cope right now. And this story is going to be it. And it took me a really long time to end up to write it. Like, I've written other books much more quickly than I wrote this one. I think because I was processing so much as I was writing it.
How long did it take you?
From start to finish, it ended up being like 6 years, I think, of working on that book.
What?
I mean, I would put it aside. It would come back. I would, it went to some of my writer friends for their feedback. I would revise it, and then I'd put it aside again, and I'd work on something else, and then I'd pick it up. And
it's a masterpiece.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
And wait, let me get back to the question that I was going to ask you.
Sorry. I derailed us.
Yeah. We got to, there's a moment when your main character is assuming a lot about her husband. She sees a name pop up on his phone, and she immediately goes to, he's cheating on me. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? I don't even know what the question is there. When I was reading it, I was like, what? That's not what I would have assumed. Okay, this is what we're assuming. Okay, all right. And then we just go on. Why?
Why did that assumption?
Why?
I think in part, so she saw that and she's like, I don't know who this person is. Why is this person calling? And then she's like, oh, his phone is locked. Why did he lock me out of his phone? He's never locked me out of his phone before. And then that sort of was when she was like, yeah, that must be it.
Oh, okay.
But I think in part, she had been thinking about another man. So I think that also speaks to sometimes the choices we make or the assumptions we make are because
we're hoping.
Either we're hoping or we know that like that's something we might want to do. So why wouldn't that person want to do it?
It's tough. It's tough. The sequel to this book comes out
in March.
Okay, because we spent a lot of time, Jill, being like, okay, does she tell this person this? Does she tell this person this? What's going to happen? Is her life going to blow up if this happens? All of these things. But there is a sequel. So there are answers.
There are answers.
There are answers.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, right after I wrote this book, my sister said to me, okay, so what happened next? And I was like, I don't know.
What?
And she was like, what do you mean you don't know?
What do you mean you don't know? You wrote them.
I was like, I wrote the book. It stops there. And she's like, that's not an acceptable answer for me. You've got to do something else about that.
Acceptable answer.
So I was like, okay. And I came up with an answer for her. And then I was telling my publisher about it. And she was like, oh, that's interesting. But, we had these other books underway. And she then came back to me a bit ago and was like, okay, I think it's time for the sequel. So I pulled out the old thing that I had, told my sister. And I was like, all right, now I have to turn this into a book. But I basically wrote it for my sister. But then, other people have asked me for what happens next a bunch.
Because you are some people's author friends. Are they like, make sure this happens. Make sure this, do they ever put their 2 cents? There's no way this can happen.
Well, Courtney, who introduced us,
yes,
she said to me after the first book came out, maybe this will spoil or something. You know what?
I'm like, what is it? I want to know.
I'm just going to say there's a character in the sequel named Courtney for Courtney.
That's very cool.
Yes.
That's very cool.
Because she had some ideas where if something happened, she wanted that person to be her, essentially.
I'm like, to what? I'm like, tell me everything. Oh my gosh. This is very exciting. Okay. All right.
Have to get better at speaking around spoilers for this book too. That was really bad. I'm gonna have to.
I know, it's been a while. But you know what though? I feel like you've written quite a few books. So you're in practice of okay. So I'm excited for the March release because I definitely will be reading it because we discussed way too long what we thought was gonna happen and now I personally need some answers.
You can invite me to your book club for the second one and we'll have a whole conversation about both books.
We got this on camera, right?
I'm coming.
She's coming to book club. Okay.
I'm coming.
I love that. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with Jill Santopolo, and we've been discussing her awesome book, The Light We Lost, which there is a sequel coming out, ladies and gentlemen. And she just said she's coming to the next book club if we read the sequel in book club. Let's go. But aside from this specific book, you have quite a remarkable career, and you're a whole person. As I consider writing to be you're an artist. It's a career path that feels, okay, how do I say this? Kind of like being an actor, going into something that you love to do and you never know what the outcome is going to be. It's like one of those scary, to me, if I was growing up, it's one of those professions that my parents would think of is scary kind of thing. And you're doing it. You are it. You are her. She is you. Okay, this is what it looks like to be a successful author. Okay, it's you. What was that moment when you first could tell someone, I am a writer. I am an author. Do you remember that moment?
I'm trying to think. I think it's actually, sometimes you're in the doctor's office and they have occupation weirdly on your intake forms. Yeah. And I've been editing books since I graduated from college. So I always
from Columbia?
Yeah. So I always on those forms would write editor. And then there was one moment where I wrote editor and then I paused and I wrote and writer. And I was like, Yeah, that feels right.
What do you love more? Or what did you so was editing your first love?
So I actually, when you just said writing is one of those professions where like you never know what's going to happen. So when I was graduating from college, my dad basically said to me, it's really cool if you want to write. I know you like writing, but you need a job with a 401k and a health care plan and a dental insurance plan. And like, you need that kind of sort of safety net.
Yeah.
And during college, I had interned at a few different publishing houses, and I really, really loved it. So I was like, that's great. I'm going to try and get a job at a publishing house. Hopefully that will work out. And then I can write on the side. And that's what I did. And I really fell in love with editing in a way that surprised me. Like, there's something that I find so exciting about helping other people's visions become the most clear version of that vision as possible.
Ooh.
So like, working with a writer and they're saying like, this is what I'm going for. And me looking at the pages and saying like, okay, if this is what you're going for, let's talk about this section or let's talk about that section. Or, if it's a picture book, let's pair it with an artist. Is this artist someone who speaks to you and speaks to the message that you have here? And let's work on that too. And that has been so exciting for me. And at a few different points along the way, I've thought like, do I want to pivot and write full time? Or do I want to pivot and edit full time? And both questions, my answer was no. I really like being able to do both of these things. And they sort of like are really satisfying in different ways.
Do you trust yourself to edit your own?
Oh, no way.
You're like,
no way.
Absolutely not.
No chance.
Not
no
even
chance.
a little bit.
Like, yeah, I'm so grateful for the editors that I work with because I can't see, because I know the stories so well inside.
Yeah.
I can't see where I've left out details that other people would need for the story to make sense, or like didn't give enough character development because I know the character, Yeah. So I need someone outside of my head who can really, take a look at what I've done.
So it was the moment when you just like wrote it down like I'm thinking like I used to work in a restaurant and people would be like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I'm an actor, but I felt like bad saying it, but I was. And so I just feel like what is that moment, or what is that, like, what is it that can give a person the confidence to say what they are on this planet to do when they're not doing, when it doesn't look to somebody else in that moment that they're doing not that, but they really.
I mean, I think that moment in the doctor's office was probably after I had gotten like my first book contract. And I was like, okay, that feels
like I can
claim this job. And I don't know if that's really right. Like, I think I was,
because I felt that once I got a tour, I was like, I'm an actor.
and it's that sort of, I guess, external validation, which probably shouldn't be the case. I probably should have felt comfortable writing writer when I was writing, whether or not anybody bought it or didn't buy it. But but it really did feel to me like, okay, I've sold a book. Now maybe because I was getting paid for it, my occupation was now writer, as opposed to like, this is just this thing I did like with my spare time.
Yes, I feel that. Okay, let's see. How do you balance work and family?
It's not easy.
Do you write at home?
I do. So
how do you find the quiet time?
So what I have sort of done, and it's like with a lot of gratitude to my husband, is, I have my day job during the day. Then I get home, and until my daughter goes to bed, it's all family and her and no work. And then once she's in bed, I try and write for like an hour.
A day?
If I can. I don't really put too much pressure on myself, but if I'm really drafting something.
What a writer would say. Of course. Like that's.
If I'm really drafting something, then it's like every night until I get it done. And then, I mean, if I'm sick or if I'm really tired and I know that staring at the computer is going to be fruitless, like then it's not worth it. Watch some TV, whatever. And then after that, you know, I'll hang out with my husband a little bit before I go to bed. So I feel like it's really with a lot of gratitude to him because he's okay with me just sort of going off into my own world and doing that. And he'll clean up the kitchen and he'll do whatever because
what a dream.
He's like, I know you're this is you. This is what you love and I want you to be able to do that. So
how do you deal with a creative block? Have you had creative blocks? Or does it always just pour out of you, Jill?
No, I mean, there have been times where I felt stuck in a story, and usually I feel like that means I've taken a wrong turn somewhere.
Ooh, so then what do you do?
So I go back to the last place in the manuscript where it felt really good to write, and I space down everything after that. And usually it's not that much because when you take a wrong turn, it's usually pretty obvious you've taken a wrong turn, you know, within a chapter or so. So I space all of that down and then I start from that other point again and I try something different.
Do you ever do that with your real life? I'm like, I've never thought to do that.
Walk back with real life.
Be like, wait a minute.
Actually, let's just space all
Things
this
were
down.
feeling really good before this happened. Let's go back.
You know, I never actually thought of it quite in that way. But like.
Because you're creating worlds.
But I think in a way, yes. Like, my family, we moved out of New York City and we came back. We kind of like spaced down and we're like, we felt really good there. Let's go back there.
I mean, there it is. That's.
Yeah.
Ooh. I'm like, should I ever do that?
Space down.
Just
go back
down and go back a little bit. Wait, that was really good when we did this. Let's keep up with that. Oh, is there a formula to making a bestseller?
If there is, I don't know it.
Okay, hold up. And we only have a few more questions. I'm going to let you go soon. But this is such a hit. When it was happening, was it fast? Did it happen overnight? Or was it a slow burn?
So I'm trying to remember exactly, but I think it started getting a little bit of attention when before it came out, it started getting international attention. Because the publisher brought it out to foreign markets to say like, hey, we have this book, we're coming out with it, you know, in whatever, 9 months or whatever it is. Do you want to translate it for your market? So it started getting some international attention, which was really exciting.
Before it even came out in America.
Yes. And then it started getting like a little bit of like pickup. I think it was doing really nicely. And then I think there was the Bellatrix Book Club picked it up. The Skim Reads Book Club picked it up. So I was really happy. And then when the paperback came out, which is about a year later, was when Reese picked it for her book club. And that was just like,
good.
I mean, thank you, Reese Witherspoon, wherever you are. Thank you. Because it changed my life. I mean, entirely changed my life.
Okay. That's because with a book, it's not like, okay, the movie came out, and you're going to a movie theater, and then that weekend, box office numbers. It's like, it's a book. Sometimes it takes people weeks to read a book.
Yeah.
So did you read reviews? Like, how did you get feedback?
I got some reviews in like, you know, trade publications or things like that. And I read those. And then I started getting some reviews on Goodreads. And like I read a couple, and then a couple were really mean, like really, really mean. And I was like, okay, I think I can't.
I'm done.
I can't.
I'm the same
like
way.
for my own
I'm done.
mental health, I can't. And then like there are people who will tag me on Bookstagram or whatever of a review. And for the most part, it's people tag me in the nice ones, which I really appreciate actually. And I think it's lovely. And I will oftentimes like repost it and thank them. But like once in a while, people will tag me in mean ones. And I'm just like, just tag me. Yeah. I was like, just don't tag me. It's okay. It's okay if you don't like my book. I understand my book is not for everyone.
That's so bold.
But like, just don't tag me.
Part of me though, I don't know. I mean, obviously you might not feel this way. And I don't know if I feel this way when it comes to like reviews about me personally, if they're not good. But I feel like if somebody even wrote a negative review, like they still finished the book.
It's true.
Like you finished the book. You did what I wanted you to do. So who's really winning or losing here? I mean, to me, it's like they at any point they could have put it down.
Yeah. No, that's totally true. But I feel like also though, like it's okay if someone doesn't like my book. Like there are books that I have read that other people have loved.
Yeah.
And have not been my cup of tea. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But just don't tag me.
Don't tag me. Don't
like,
get a life.
I feel like that's kind of like walking up to someone and being like, I was like, Celicia,
I don't like your hair today.
This podcast is terrible.
It sucks.
Why would you say that to someone?
Just delete it. Just take it off your list.
Right.
Like, don't tell me. Yeah, I
Don't
feel
tell me
that.
to my face. It's just not kind.
One of my last questions that I want to ask you is, who is your inspiration?
I mean, I think there are so many people who I look at and I think, I really admire the way you are doing this particular thing, and I find that inspiring. Like I have friends who I've said to them, like, I'm so inspired by the way you are a mom. And like that's something that I really, want to be. I want to be a mom like you're being a mom. And I feel like there are also writers who I think I want to interact with, like a fan community the way you're doing it. And I find that really inspirational. And, other people who I'm like, this person is such a good friend. And I find that inspirational about like, I want to be a friend like that person is a friend. So I feel like there's just so many people in my life who I think are just wonderful at so many things they do. And I look at them and I think like, you are someone that I aspire to be like in this particular way. And, my mom, I think she had a job. She had 3 kids, and one of her goals, she had 3 daughters, has 3 daughters. And one of her goals, she said when we were a kid, was to show us that women can do anything. So she would particularly look to see if we could go to like a doctor who's a woman, or, a house of worship where the praise leader was a woman. And like that sort of thing, I really, really admire her for. I just think that there are so many people in everyday life who are doing such amazing things. And that's what I look for. And that's what I find the most inspirational.
Any advice to aspiring authors or editors?
My advice to aspiring authors is to read in the genre that you want to write in, so that you know what you're contributing to a body of work that's come before you. And then for editors, for someone who is aspiring to be an editor, actually, I think it's the same thing. If you want to make a contribution, make sure you know what you're making a contribution to.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
You are so incredible and really generous of your spirit and your time and your soul. And I feel really grateful to get to pick your brain a little bit, and also like a bucket list item of reading a book that I love and getting to ask the author, okay, well, wait, what about this? What about that? It's been so much fun for me. So Jill, thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been so much fun for me too.
Y'all, this is Jill Santopolo, author of The Light We Lost, and her next book, the sequel to this, is coming out March 2025. It's called
The Love We Found.
The Love We Found! Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.